Hey everyone, what's up? It's been quite some time since I've had the opportunity to share a video with you guys, and one of the big reasons why is I actually just ended up picking up PS4 Pro, and during the process of setting it up, they give you the option if you already own a PS4, an option to migrate all the content over. And I had over 150 gigabytes of unused video clips sitting on that device, and I knew the migration would take forever. And so I did some hard thinking about the likelihood that I would actually use any of those videos. And I decided, it's really not worth it. So I kind of declared video bankruptcy, and I'm just resetting the old PS4. And so as a consequence, I don't have nearly as many videos to kind of select from when making this video. So the invasions here are all really good ones, but they maybe don't have a shared theme like I usually try to go for when I make one of these videos. This is the videos today actually consist of two builds. This guy is my R1 spam build, my Soul Level 36 Dark build, and then afterwards we'll see a couple clips from a new build I'm working on. Soul Level 60 Dark build, and I'll talk a bit more about him a little down the road. You can see me obviously giving chase to this guy, and here I'm trying to carefully weave my way through the chaos so I can finish him off. The other invader that's here is actually a guy that I had invaded immediately before this invasion, so he must not be twinked out. He actually beat me. He's really good, so I knew as soon as I saw him that we were just going to clobber these guys. And clobber them we did. Now you've probably noticed this host is super laggy, so it's a little bit harder to roll catch him. So again, it's just, invasions, let's say 102, trying to stay out of the other guy's way, trying to keep pressure up on the host at the same time. And you'll actually see something kind of amusing here in just a moment. So just trying to trade off here. And the invader does something smart, hits him with an Undead Hunter charm, and of course it's almost impossible to hit somebody with one of those without also hitting the other invader, but that's okay. If I started taking damage, I could just back off. So right about here, I start thinking this Undead Hunter charm's about to wear off, so I decide I'm going to try and hit him with another one so we can keep the pressure up. And watch this. As he comes into that roll, it wears off. But then as he comes out of his next roll, he picks up the new Undead Hunter charm, and he must not have realized it. So he was just waiting for the second that that the effect wore off to Estus, but he didn't pay attention to the new one coming in. So GG, dude. That was an awesome invasion. I really enjoyed that. So this is actually that same crew. They had been hiding previously. I don't know if you could hear it. But I could hear the branches going off, and that's one of the reasons I knew to be wary at that door. I mean, you always want to be wary at that door. That's a very common ambush spot there. And here I notice he attacks out of the stun of the lightning urn. And I didn't want to try to parry him that time. It was a little risky. I decided that I was going to kind of bide my time, but I've certainly filed that away for later, and I know that he attacks out of hit stun now, so in my mind that's kind of a free parry whenever I need it later. You'll notice there I actually cast Bountiful Light sort of pre-fight. And generally the advice that I've gotten from other invaders with respect to regen like that is it's really most valuable in between fights, sort of when you're backing off, you're waiting for them, you can kind of regen. But in a case like this with a 4v1, there's the hit stun again and there's the free parry. But I'm going to go ahead and throw on a regen just because I may not have an opportunity to get to it later. And I know I heard Pinko talking about this in his stream the other day, kind of when's the right time to use it. I have one Ashen Estus, plus the one I come in with, plus I have FP regen in my shield, so I almost never even use the other Ashen Estus. In fact, maybe I'll actually take that off the build and substitute a regular Estus for it because I don't really need it. You see these guys, most of them are over-leveled phantoms, which actually gets me thinking about some conversations that I've had lately and actually videos that friends of mine have made, friends including the Ducky Sphere, the Mocha Latte, Nif, and I think I'm probably missing somebody. All these guys have made videos, and watch this. Totally knows that the parry's coming, punishes me with the charge R2. That was really nice. But talked a lot about twink builds and should you twink, should you not? What are the advantages and disadvantages thereof? And I think the consensus is basically that unfortunately the game does not do a good job of balancing, especially really early on in the game, like Undead Settlement, where as an invader, if you don't twink, you're going to be wildly imbalanced against the over-leveled phantoms and they're going to crush you. But if you do twink, you have the capacity to just mow hosts down in a really unfair fashion. And there's really the problem is there is no single solution to that problem. But it's the reason that I've never really made a build kind of at that Undead Settlement level. I know, especially lately, Reddit has been replete with posts from hosts who are complaining they're new to the game. Maybe they're playing through with a friend, and they're just getting cut down by invaders that are way more powerful than them. And that's just really unfortunate. I think From did a lot to improve the twink imbalance in Dark Souls 3 by matching on weapon upgrades and matching on soul level. But it's still obviously not perfect. They could bring the number of Estus you have or Estus upgrades into the balancing equation as well. That's probably the right way to fix the problem. And then simultaneously, if they allow you to summon in over-leveled phantoms, the phantom should get half of the host's Estus with the same upgrades. Or they can even do the same thing for invaders to ensure that it's a bit better balanced. But it's funny because by virtue of twinking, I'm able to fight these guys straight up here in the cathedral. If I were not twinked, I would definitely not be fighting them in here. I would make them chase me through the level. So in some sense, actually, it ends up working out for both the host and the invader, because I'm sure the hosts don't want to have to chase me around out there. And I'm not trying to justify twinking as if to say that the host would be glad that I'm doing it. I just think in some ways it makes the game more entertaining for everyone involved. I'm not really sure what's up with this overleveled phantom rather. He's got almost no armor on. He's got almost no vigor. You can see I'm doing about 80% of his vigor with each R1 combo that I throw at this guy. And there I try to space out the large club, but the Earth Shake prevents me from doing it. This guy doesn't seem like he's likely to parry me, but I'm still trying to respect the medium shield. He's throwing out enough R2s and doing enough things that make me think he's not a noob. And if I get too predictable, he may start in with the parries. So I have to be careful. And let me just say a quick word about the PS4 Pro. If you're on the fence about it, I definitely recommend it. Needless to say, it's pretty self-indulgent to buy one just to play Souls games on it. The game does look a lot better. The frame rate is immediately noticeable. I mean, as soon as you start playing the game, it jumps out at you. I think it makes it easier to play. I think it makes it easier to react to attacks. And just the visual fidelity changes are worth it. I do not own a 4K TV. I probably will end up getting one at this point, just to be able to really unlock the total potential of this console. But I've really been enjoying it, and I'm glad that I made the upgrade. So if you're thinking about it like I was, I'd been on the fence about it for about a month. I would say if you're on the fence, you should go ahead and pull the trigger, and you'll be glad that you did. It almost plays, I think, like the PC version of the game. At least the clips that I've seen of the PC version, it's reminiscent of that. I'm actually at a point now where I have a PC that is actually capable of playing Dark Souls 3, and I've thought about buying it. And honestly, if I could get it for like $10 or $20, I probably would. But the fact that every time I look, it's still full priced or pretty close to it, I'm not going to play it enough to justify the cost. So I actually was talking about over-leveled phantoms. And with regard to these over-leveled phantoms, there's a channel by the name of Old Rabid One, and he's been running he had a funny video the other day. He's running kind of an informal contest regarding who can slay the highest level over-leveled phantom at low levels, and he spends a lot of time at Undead Settlement, so I think he's thinking like soul level 10 to 20. But I don't know that there's any sort of official restriction on it. You should go check it out. The channel has a lot of great content, a lot of good analysis, and that video in particular is very funny. Just all the talk about overleveled phantoms, because as problematic as they are at any time, they are especially problematic at really low levels. So Old Rabid One, I'll put his channel link in the description. There's another content creator I'd like to talk about for a moment. His name is Pathfinder. He actually has been commenting on my videos for some time. I was not aware that he had a channel. In fact, I'm not sure how I stumbled upon it, but the content quality is really, really good. He's been making videos for probably, I don't know, like 8 months or so. And most recently, he started doing commentary, and the quality of his commentary is very good. He has so much analysis packed into his videos. I learn a ton every time I watch one, and every time I watch them, it makes me want to go play the game and go try out what I learned. Most recently, he was sharing some tips around forcing hosts to roll in particular directions based on them being locked on and based on your positioning. So that's something that I want to get started working on. Just really inspiring, both these guys, Old Rabid One and Pathfinder. I cannot recommend them enough. They are really undersubscribed. But again, links to their channels I'll have in the description, and go stop by and check them out. So this is actually my soul level 60 dark build. This is a very much a work in progress. He has not been optimized in any way. And actually, I've been much more diligent now about putting my builds out on Soulsplanner. So if you go look at my account out there, you can find most of the builds that I've been playing on lately. And as I play on them, I'm adding them out in Soulsplanner. And there I kind of botch a plunging attack. And because I screwed it up and I was sort of surprised, I missed an opportunity to hit those guys with throwing knives and knock them off the ladder, which was kind of disappointing. So I managed to kind of successfully weave my way through the blue and the phantom. And here I'm racing to the top, mostly to see if I've got any cover in the form of this NPC up here, and I don't. And fighting a couple of parry spammers, standing on top of each other right up here. You can see it's not going very well for me, so I'm just going to kind of bail out. And I'm trying to figure out how in the hell I'm going to fight these guys kind of one at a time. So I came back up here. I'm looking for them again. And I've also been thinking a lot about how you're in situations with multiple people where there's truly no safe roll, right? Swinging at different tempos. Here I roll to avoid one plunging attack, but I get hit by the other. I roll to avoid one rolling attack, but I get hit by the greatsword. And that's just really frustrating, where there's literally nothing that you can do. And I think it just goes to show how important it is to avoid these kinds of situations to begin with. Like, as an invader, you just don't want to be in situations where more than one person can swing on you. And obviously it's not possible to avoid them entirely, but I think that's kind of one of the core skills as an invader, is how do you structure kind of the fight in such a way that they don't all pile on you all at once. So at this point, I've kind of decided I'm going to retreat. I'm going to stand up here and wait for them to come back. And as I start thinking about it, I realize, well, first of all, they don't actually have to come back this way. If they go down by the giant, they can come back through the dungeon. They could come up behind me. They could avoid me entirely. But I see that one of the phantoms has died, and I'm not really sure what they're fighting. If maybe they're trying to fight the giant up by the two invisible jailers, or exactly what they're doing. But now another blue comes in to take the place of the Phantom, so I got 2 blues and the host, and I'm not quite sure where they are. So I can actually probably talk a little bit about this new Soul Level 60 Dark build. Again, he's up on Soulsplanner. Maybe I'll put a link to that as well in the chat or in the video description. But I see this guy's got what appears to be this Fi-hander, and I'm not sure if everyone else is kind of up behind him, so I'm trying to be pretty careful. You know, anytime you fight against somebody with an Ultra, you gotta be really careful with things like roll catching, because if they just swing instead, they're gonna interrupt you just like that and really make you pay for it. He's a little bit laggy too. So this Soul Level 60 Dark build, I've been screwing around with the Onyx Blade. I've been seeing a lot of the Onyx Blade at low levels, and when I look at the AR, I can start to understand why. The AR on it's actually pretty good. So this guy uses a mix of the Dark Infused Longsword, and then for like a Hyper Armor weapon, I've been kind of trading back and forth between the Onyx Blade and actually a Dark Infused Drakeblood Greatsword. And at first blush, you wouldn't think that Dark would be a good choice because it doesn't sort of synergize with the weapon's already kind of existing infusions. But in practice, it's actually been working out really, really well. I might want to look at something like a Lightning Infusion. And right there, I was really proud of that because that was the first time I had roll backstabbed an Ultra after only a single R1. I'd done it a couple times in practice sessions with Pinko, but never kind of in real gameplay. So I was pretty pleased that I was able to pull that off. So it looks like somebody's losing health out here on the ledge, and I go to investigate. And it takes me kind of a moment to understand what's going on. And the blue, unfortunately, looks like he didn't have any purple moss, which is actually understandable because as a blue, you can get pulled in from any level, anywhere. So he may have just not been ready at all. So I know this guy's a parry spammer, and I'm trying to be careful with him. And I'm also working in a lot more L1 waggles into my game in case people are going to try to reaction parry me. Now with a small shield or reaction parry on a straight sword seems kind of unlikely to me. Seems more likely with the Cestus, but I'm still edgy about it and kind of looking out for it. And here I really expected him to try to either parry me or roll out when we both put each other into hit stun. I really did not expect him to swing out of it. And here I kind of chicken out and I just decide I'm going to try to cheese him with the crossbow rather than run the risk of getting parried. That was about a 15-minute fight that I compressed for you. That felt really good to win that one. So this is my same Soul Level 60 build. This time I've actually got the Drakeblood Dark Infused Greatsword. You'll see it does real damage. I don't have the strength necessary to one-hand it, but as you'll see a little bit later, it doesn't really matter in most cases. Now somebody pointed out to me something that I had forgotten, which is that it will consume a lot more stamina given that I don't have the minimum requirements. And that's okay because I don't really use it one-handed that much, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. But unfortunately, if I want to have the strength to carry it one-handed, I'd have to give up too many other things on this build. So I've become a much more patient player. So I've got the Obscuring Ring on and the Cat Ring on, and I think about something like a Great Bow, but I don't have the stats for a Great Bow, and I decide I'm going to plunge these guys. And right about here, my controller actually died on me. So at this point, I'm scrambling to find the cable, get it plugged back in, get the controller turned back on. And by the time I regain control, they're already coming up the ladder, so I can't do a plunge anymore. So I get him with a charged R2, and then I catch his panic roll afterward. And that charged R2 coming up a ladder is really effective because they can't move right away. And actually, Saint Riot got me with that during one of his streams. He got me with an Ultra Greatsword charged R2, and there's the Drakeblood Greatsword one-handed. You can see the riposte. Even without the Hornet Ring, that thing still did a shit ton of damage. But getting somebody with a charged R2 as they come up off a ladder and deliberately not getting them directly off the ladder, but instead getting them out of the roll is a great strat. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the content. Thanks so much for checking in. Take care now.